All right, so the next problem that we're going to look at with partial quotients is going to be 25, and I'm going to divide 25 into 575. So again, I'm going to use what I know, and I'm just going to do my patterns of 10, my multiples of 10. So 25 times 10 is 250. 25 times 20 is equal to 500. And right there, 500 is going to be really close to 575. So I'm going to write 20 above the 75, and then I'm going to multiply 25 times 20. That gives me 500. So I'm subtracting, and then I have 75. Now I look for my ones. So I look for how many times I'm going to multiply 25 times how many ones to get 75. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to cross off my zeros here. And I'm going to use my zeros to help me. So I did 25 times 1, 25 times 2. Now I'm going to look at 25 times 3, which is equal to 75. Oh, there it is. So 25 multiplied by 3. So here's my ones. I'm going to write my ones up above the 20. 25 multiplied by 3 is going to be 75. I'm going to subtract, and I get 0. So then I'm going to add 20 plus 3 to get 23. So my quotient for this problem is going to be 23. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the last problem that we're going to look at for today for your guided practice. And that's going to be 960 divided by 32. So I look for how many times I need to multiply 32 by. So I'm going to use my patterns of 10. So 32 times 10 is going to be 320. 32 times 20 is going to be, I'm just going to double the 32. So it's going to be 640. That's not close. So I'm going to move up one more, 32 times 30. And here I'm just going to add 32. 2 or 4 and 2 is going to be 6. I'm going to add my 0. And then 3 plus 6 is going to be 9. So I have 960. So here I'm going to do 30 tens, and I'm going to do 32 times 30. My answer that I get is 960. I subtract, and I have 0. So I only have one quotient here because 32 went into 960 evenly. So my answer here is going to be 30. Now, at this point in time, if you feel that you are pretty comfortable with where you're at with partial quotients, you can go ahead and stop the video. If you would like to see 2 more examples, go ahead and keep watching the video. And my suggestion would be do the steps that I do, but try it with one of your problems on your practice page. So the first one I'm going to look at is I'm going to do 41, and I'm going to divide that into 533. And so when I do 41 and I divide that into 533, what I'm going to do is my multiples of 10, 41 times 10 is going to be 410. That's pretty close. I don't know if I doubled, so I have 410. And if I double that, I'm going to get 820. So that's going to be too large. This was times 20. This was times 10. So my multiple of 10 rule tells me that 410 is going to be my first partial quotient. So I'm going to write 410 here. My first partial quotient I'm going to write is going to be 10. I'm going to subtract. 3 minus 0 is 3. 3 minus 1 is 2. 5 minus 4 is 1. So now I'm looking for how many times 400 or 41 is going to go into 123. So here I had 820. So if I just take off the zeros and just look at them as multiplying my 41's facts, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say times 3. So 41 times 3. And I may need to just do the work off to the side. 3 times 1 is going to be 3. 3 times 4 is going to be 4. So times 3, I'm going to get 123. So that fits. That's the closest value I'm going to get. So I'm going to write my partial quotients up above the 10, and then I'm going to do 123 underneath. I'm going to subtract, and I get 0. Okay, so I'm going to add my two partial quotients together. When I add my two partial quotients together, I get 13 as my answer. All right, the last problem that I'm going to look at with you guys is going to be 39, and I'm going to divide that into 780. So I know that when I do 39 times 10, I get 390. I don't know what 39 times 2 is off the top of my head, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to do down here. So 9 times 2 is going to be 18. 2 times, regroup the 1. 2 times 3 is going to be 6, plus 1 is going to be 7. So if I just add a 0 to the 20, or the 2 to make it a 20, I'd have to add a 0 there using that multiple 10 rule. I have 780. So my quotient is going to be 20. 39 times 20 is going to be 780. When I subtract, I don't have any value left over, so I only had one quotient for this problem, which was 20. So let me go ahead and do one more to where you guys are actually having to look for both of those partial quotients. So I'm going to do 11 divided into 792. So 11 divided into 792. I'm going to use what I know about my 11s back. So again, I'm going to look here at my 79. 11 is going to go into 79 7 times. So if I did 11 times 70, I would get 770. So 70 is going to be my first partial quotient. I'm going to write 770 underneath. Going to subtract. 2 subtract 0 is going to be 2. 9 subtract 7 is going to be 2. 7 subtract 7 is going to be 0. Now I look for how many times I multiply 11 by 1 to get to 22. Well, 11 times 2 is equal to 22. So I'm going to write 22 underneath, and then I'm going to subtract. I add my two values together, and I get 72 for my answer. So my partial quotients for this problem were 70 and 2 for an answer of 72. So at this point in time, I'm going to have you guys go ahead and start working on your practice for today, remembering to show those partial quotients as you go, and then doing any work that you need to off on the side.